Hey gang, what's up? It's your guy coming to you live from Studio 405. Yeah, Mr. Fingaz coming to you live from the 405, where the wind not whipping down the plains, but no need because the temperatures have dropped below freezing. And we know what generally coincides with the dropping of the temperatures to below freezing. I have no idea what it could possibly be, where it could possibly come from, but sooner or later, the light will hit you. Moving on, if you know, you know. Moving on, lots of action during Rivalry Weekend in the SEC. Always have trouble saying that word, Rivalry Weekend in the SEC. There were a couple of games that would determine who would wind up playing in the SEC championship game, right down to the wire on the very last week. No outright winners, as one of the two teams found out when number 3 Texas A&M matched up against number 16 Texas. We know how this turned out. It turned out to be the final score was 27-17. Game played in Texas. Texas A&M was heavily favored. Marcel Reed, a Heisman candidate, late season Heisman candidate, versus Arch Manning, the preseason Heisman favorite, and the game really did not disappoint. Texas A&M came into this game undefeated at 11-0. Texas at 8-3, and Texas A&M jumps out to an early lead, 10-3 at the half. It looked like they had things pretty well in hand, but they couldn't really get any purchase and pull away, which proved to be their downfall, because the second half, the Longhorns came back and put up 24 points in the second half to the Aggies 3. And that's how it went. Marcel Reed just couldn't get things going. He had no touchdown passes, only threw for 180 yards, 20 of 32 with 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, Arch Manning, 1 yard less, 179 yards at 14 of 29 passing with 1 touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. And a big key to the success of the Longhorns in defeating the Aggies, Quinn Travion Wisner, 14 rushes. That may be a 19. Can't read my handwriting. First time with the readers. Shush it. I know I got the gray hairs. I got the readers on. 14 rushes for 155 yards. A&M with that loss is now out of the SEC championship game, which allows the Georgia Bulldogs to slide on in there. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Texas, of course, is politicking for a spot in the CFP, but as we know, they did have 2, if you want to call them good losses, if you have to have a good loss. They lost to Ohio State, who is currently ranked number 1 in the nation. They lost to Georgia, who currently, after today's AP rankings, are ranked number 3 in the AP polls in the nation. But then you have that loss to some team south of Georgia. And yeah, it doesn't look good. So, and not only that, they have that's a 3rd loss, and there's a good logjam just within the SEC of 2 lost teams. And then you're also talking about looking around in other conferences. When you think about it, as stands right now, Alabama, which we'll get to in a minute. Alabama's going to be in the SEC championship game. Georgia's going to be in the SEC championship game. Georgia will more than likely pass through to the playoffs, win or lose. A&M will be in the playoffs, even though they're not in the conference championship game. Oklahoma, more than likely making it to the CFP. Who else am I looking at here? I've got a list here. Even if Alabama wins and Georgia loses, then that'll be 4 teams right there off the break going to the CFP. Not to mention Ole Miss. We'll talk about them in a different video with another scenario. So that's 5 teams from the SEC. That's almost half the field. Then you're talking about the ACC champion. You're talking about the Big 12 champion. You're talking about the Big 10 champion. That's 3 more spots. How many is that? That's 8. Keep counting. And if Indiana puts up a good enough fight against Ohio State, they more than likely will get into, even if they lose, they will more than likely get into the playoffs. So now that's 9. And then you still got to get one of the group of 4, group of 6, whatever the heck they are this week, one of those teams in there. I haven't even mentioned the ACC. I don't think I mentioned the ACC. So now, I mean, where are you going to fit in a 3-loss team? Because you would have to, by that logic, you would have to go look at your 2-loss teams that have quality wins and quality losses and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, before you even think about getting to a 3-loss team. However, Texas definitely shows a big, outstanding final game of the season for the Longhorns and Arch Manning. He's definitely starting to relax and look more like himself. We're going to keep this thing going because I did not intend for this thing to be so far a 6-minute video, and we've only gotten through the first game. Okay, moving on to the next game. We've got LSU, who came to Norman unranked to face the number 8 OU Sooners and fell short. The final score 13-17, leaving LSU at 7-5 on the season. What a disappointing season for LSU in that they were looking to make a big splash in the SEC this year, make the playoffs. Started off great. Offense really couldn't get going. Defense kind of sustained them, and then they just kind of went into a bit of a tailspin. Found themselves without their coach, Brian Kelly, who is still fighting to get his buyout money. To have an interim coach for the last 4 games that this year has flown by. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, as far as I know. I know it's been longer than 2, but y'all understand what I'm saying. OU advances to 10-2, 6-2 in the conference. More than likely will, at number 8, still be within the window to slide into the CFP. OU dominated this game on the stat line. I know that the score was close. I know that there wasn't a lot of scoring. There were 30 points between both teams in an hour of football played on the clock. But OU dominated the stat line on this. John Mateer, 23 of 38. He did throw 3 interceptions. That was, oh man, my social media was lighting up. I think I was at the gym or something, so I didn't get to watch all of the games. But God, John Mateer was getting lit up. He threw 3 interceptions, but he did also throw 2 touchdowns, not the least of which was the final touchdown of the game to Isaiah. Satania. I knew that. I could pronounce it. To Isaiah Satania, that 58-yard reception that he threw. Whatever coverage it was that they ran froze. All the DB, Satania's back there by himself like, yoo-hoo, hey boys, and just took off and tucked it in for the winning touchdown. So that seals LSU's fate, hoping to get to 8 wins, finish with 7. Still has a winning season, but a lot of rebuilding to do. My understanding that they did announce a new coach today. We'll talk about that in a separate video. Keeping it moving. Hopefully that new coach will be able to come in and turn things around and build a better program. Rumor has it he's pretty good at doing that. He did that at his last program, the program he's leaving right now. But there was no AP movement on this game whatsoever. By that, I mean OU right now, as of today, the AP rank is still ranked number 8. Right now, OU just essentially waiting to see where they're seated and who they're going to wind up playing when the CFP comes up with their final rankings next week after the conference championships. Moving on to the next game, number 14 Vanderbilt travels to Knoxville to take on number 19 Tennessee. It was a beating. It was a beating. It was a beating really bad. You remember when Ralphie got mad and decided to beat up Scott Farkas? And he beat him up so bad that Scott was crying and his nose was bleeding. He's snotting all over himself. It was one of those kind of beatings. It was really, really bad. And of course, as to be expected, it was all Diego Pavia all the time. Not to say that Aguilar did not have a great game. 29-44, 299 yards and 1 touchdown. But Diego Pavia, 18-28, 268 yards. 1 touchdown with 1 interception, and then he ran for 20 carries for 165 yards and a touchdown. and one DIP for his brother. I said that out loud. His brother got arrested by the police. I think he wanted to fight some people, came in wanting to fight people, and police just wound up putting some handcuffs on him at the end of the game. Not to make light of that. Please, sir, get some help. We know some other people that were like that, brothers of famous quarterbacks that wound up finding themselves in a bad situation. So please get some help, sir. Not to make light of that at all. Just bringing that to public light. He's not going to see this video. I'm not the. Anyway, moving on. The Vandy defense managed to pick up, here's a stat, 4 sacks. That's something that you would not have seen from Vanderbilt when their coach came in and took the program over. Clark Lee said he was going to build them and he was going to change the culture, and and Collin and I both laughed. We laughed. We bet them culture. Yeah, no. Well, you know what? Vanderbilt is now 10-2, but ranked at 14, will more than likely find themselves outside. Unless something really kooky happens and chaos reigns next week during conference championships, Vandy will more than likely find themselves, unfortunately, ranked just outside of the CFP. Although, I would love to see that. The Vanderbilt did drop 1 spot down to number 12. What are they talking about? It just said 14, and I got these rankings right off the AP website. But anyway, the Volunteers, who were ranked number 18 in the AP poll, were dropped out of the poll. That is our first slate of games. Now moving on to the second slate here, Georgia versus Georgia Tech. I'm pretty sure you guys know I have a soft spot for the Dogs. No love for Georgia Tech. Not that I hate them, because their academic program is amazing, and a lot of their graduates go on to do great and wonderful things. But where football is concerned, as the song says, and the hell with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech at the University of Georgia, number 4 versus number 23 Georgia Tech. It was definitely a grinded out, run the ball 3 yards in a cloud of dust, old school football game. Georgia winds up winning 16-9. Gunnar Stockton, uncharacteristic game, less than 100 yards, 70 to be exact, on 11 of 21 passing. Did have 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He just didn't seem to be himself, but he did enough to get the job done. Haynes King, he threw for 181 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. Now, here's the kicker. The defense of Georgia was able to limit Haynes King to 39 yards rushing. To the uninitiated, that is a huge accomplishment, because Haynes King is one of those dual threat quarterbacks that can beat you with his legs as well as with his arms. And if you can't stop him from running around the field, you're going to have a very long day. So Georgia being able to do that definitely helped them keep the Yellow Jackets at bay, finish up with a score of 16-9. Now, Georgia, here's an odd statistic. For the first time, I think, the entire season, Georgia had 0 rushing touchdowns. 0. And only 1 pass touchdown. And that was to Zachariah Branch in the second quarter. And Peyton Woodring, a perfect 3 for 3 in field goals. So they basically, all they did was once they realized that they had no run game except for Haynes King, and once they keyed up on Haynes King, they shut everything else down. Georgia reigns victorious, 16-9, moves up to number 3 in the AP polls as of the rankings today. Georgia Tech falls to number 24. Georgia at 11-1. Georgia Tech at 9-3. Moving on to another game with SEC championship games. Implications. They both rhyme. Eminem will figure out a way to make it rhyme with relaxation, staycation, vacation, and orange. Bama beats Auburn. Number 10 Bama beats unranked Auburn 27-20. This one was a slow burner. Took Auburn a little bit to get going. Ty Simpson, and Auburn decided that they were going to really throw everything but the kitchen sink at Ty Simpson. Couldn't slow him down, but it took a while for them to get going. 20-20 going into the fourth quarter, and then of course Ty Simpson throws that touchdown pass to Isaiah Horton. 1 of 3. He threw for 122 yards and 3 touchdowns. Connor Talty Here's a fun statistic. We've heard about Connor Talty all season, his field goal kicking problems. Well, whatever it is that they did to him, a coach said to him, or a combination of both, the first one probably being something that the coach knows nothing about whatsoever. In a team meeting, Connor Talty was a perfect 3 of 3 from the field goal range. God, 3 of 3 for field goals during this game. Bama will advance to the SEC championship game, so that means that my beloved Dogs get a rematch with the Bama Crimson Tide in Atlanta next week. Looking exceptionally forward to that. We keep this thing moving on. The last game of note in Rivalry Weekend, not so much because of implications for playoffs or anything like that, but just because it was so darn fun to see. The unranked Florida Gators. Y'all remember that guy, Thomas Castellanos, back in the first week of the season? It's like, Bama's got nothing for me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And, of course, he did it, and they beat Alabama. And everybody had a good laugh. And Florida State fans stormed the field. And, so Florida State wound up, that was probably the marquee game of their entire season. Florida beat Florida State 21-40. Lagway had a Lagway game. He threw for 3 touchdowns and an interception. But here is the kicker. Here is the straw that stirs the drink. The straw that stirred. I'm talking in past tense. I'm saying it like the game's still going on right now. The straw that stirred the drink for the Gators. One, Jaden Baugh. That man is, listen, he is the subject of a Rihanna song that was very popular a few years ago, because that man is a monster. 38 carries, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, average 7.4. I'm sorry, average about 7 yards per carry. Can't read my own handwriting. It looks like 7.4 PC. I had no idea what that meant. And I went, oh, that's YPC. Average 7 yards a carry. The Gators, even though we hate them, they did good. They did good. Rivalry weekend. I will get that. I can't believe that I can rap the very fast first 2. Look at me now, the Busta Rhymes verse, but I can't say Rivalry Weekend. There we go. That's a little bit better. Florida knocks off FSU 40-21. Other games of note, as far as the weekend where the two teams that don't like each other played this weekend. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State 38-19. We'll talk about that in another video. Like I said, I've been teasing that all video long. Ole Miss finishes the season 11-1. Mississippi State falls to 5-7. What a season Mississippi State could have had, because when you think about the fact that Mississippi State came out of the gate and they were at like 4. I think they had 4 wins before they got into conference play and finished the season 5-7. They may have had 5 wins before they got deep into conference play to finish 5-7. South Carolina, Beamer Ball, they're going to need a huge revamp. I don't know. I cannot recall if the South Carolina AD has given the vote of confidence public statement for Beamer. But if he's coming back next year, I can guarantee you he's going to be in a really tight leash, and they need to see some improvements. 28-14, they fall to their cross-state rival. South Carolina finishes the season 4-8, no bowl game for them. Missouri, another team that had great promise coming into the start of the season, lost their starting quarterback. Winds up finishing 8-4 by defeating Arkansas 31-17, beat them by more than 2 scores. Arkansas finishes the season 2-10. They're still rebuilding. Unfortunately, Arkansas winds up rebuilding about every 3 years when they get a new head coach. But we'll see what comes out of Arkansas next season. No bowl game for them, unfortunately, either. So that does it for our wrap up of this week in UGA football Rivalry Week, the SEC edition. Collin and I will be on the air tomorrow. We love you tomorrow. You're always a day away. I don't know why, but you're always a day away. Anyhow, or at least whatever the song said. Anyhow, Collin and I will be here tomorrow evening with all the news that's fit to print about UGA and other things. I am going to sign off of here for now, and I'm going to go fix myself a little something to eat and maybe call it an evening. Y'all be good to each other. We'll catch you later. Go Dogs.